My name is Aidan Walker. I'm delighted to welcome you all here. I'm the director of the seminar program here at Publishing Expo, and I gave myself the pleasure today of chairing this particular session because I need to know as much about the cloud as you guys do. And I'm also delighted to welcome two people who know a great deal more than almost anyone, I hope, in this room anyway. That is Mark Pratt, who's going to start. Mark runs a webcast TV show called The Cloud Show, and he's also, I've forgotten exactly all the other things he does, but he'll, I'm sure, tell you.
I'll do my best.
Following from him, we have Drew Adams, who is a colleague of his. You can meet them both at the Cloud Pavilion halfway down on this side between the theatres after the sessions. And what Mark doesn't tell you, Drew is going to. So let's kick off without further ado. Mark Pratt, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, thank you. Is this mic working? Can you hear me? Yes. Okay, great. So hello, everybody. I'm going to be talking with you a little bit about the cloud, and I'll try to clear up a few things that you might have heard that might be confusing you at this point. The cloud, of course, is in everybody's minds. Companies like Apple are running massive campaigns for their cloud service called iCloud. So I'll be going over the basics with you first. But I won't go all over the basics, because the point is that I want to actually give you some concrete examples of applications that you can use in your businesses and in your publishing companies. I wanted to have many examples, and so let's get started. So yes, indeed, I'm an executive producer of a TV show. It actually runs on TV. It's right now on 12 channels, 12 networks in the United States, reaching about 400,000 households. And the best part about it is the show's just getting started. We just ran our first episode less than a month ago. It is also, well, I'll get to that in a second. In my day job, I work for a company called Vanguardistas, and Vanguardistas is a consulting company. We've worked for publishers on 3 continents, the United States, for example, North America, Canada, and then also in Europe as well as Africa. Africa being one of the most exciting markets right now. I know of people who are doing, in some cases, just redesigns of their newspaper front pages, and their circulation is going up by 22%, things that are sometimes almost impossible to do here. So the point is a wide range of experience in the publishing sector, and what we've done is we've launched our own cloud service called Metro Publisher, which is designed for small to medium-sized companies. So this is what I do during my day job, and I've basically been trying to take this know-how in my interactions with publishers of all kinds of different sizes. And what I've learned from that is that there's a lot of misunderstandings that exist about the cloud. So I joined with several other very smart people, people who, for example, produce for channels like National Geographic, to create this TV show. And you can also find it on YouTube and Vimeo. In fact, you may want to follow us on Facebook. You can, by just going to facebook.com/thecloudshow, or follow us on Twitter, and of course visiting our website. In fact, the first episode, What is the Cloud, is going to be a good preparation for you. Even after hearing my talk, there's a lot of stuff that we cover in there that we're not going to cover today. But in essence, what I like to always start with when I'm talking about the cloud is, why should we care? I mean, there's all these buzzwords that are vying for our attention. Why should we care about the cloud? And so the biggest issue, I think, is as you're exploring these various types of cloud services, is it's changing. There's an economic change happening here, where in the past, in order to do anything major, it basically was a capital project. You had to commit a budget. That budget had to typically be sizable, and then you had to obviously find an opportunity to even raise that budget. Maybe you had to go to a bank or something like that to get a loan. And with cloud solutions, that's essentially going away. You are able to tap into solutions when you're ready, and on a monthly basis, typically on a pay-as-you-go basis. And what's best about it is that also these companies that are delivering these solutions to you, they don't have to go through the traditional retail channel, which meant that in the traditional model there would be some kind of disk that goes inside of a box that then goes to a retailer. Well, first it actually has to pass through a distributor, but the point is all these different steps introduce lots and lots of costs, and those are now gone away. So what that means is that that not only are you not dealing with upfront costs, but you're also dealing with significant savings on a monthly basis to use those services. This is something that I think a lot of people miss. You are also tapping into know-how codified into software. So what's that mean exactly? What that means is that these companies are typically now able to work with either specific segments of the industry, whether you're dealing with publishing or business in general, and they're able to kind of collect know-how from experts, from their clients. And so the software is very frequently a reflection of those best practices. You may not realize why you're doing something a certain way. From your perspective, you're, let's say, just filling out a form. But the software is helping you streamline your business, helping you do things more efficiently. So in other words, this is another area where you're saving money because you're able to do more in less time. This point I think is key, not having to build but focus on what you do best. What's basically been happening in particular in let's say you're a publisher and you wanted to expand your business online. You would have to start to find developers, hire developers, and manage those developers, whether they're working for you on a permanent basis, on a contract basis, or whether you're working with an outside company. So whether you realize it or not, if you're going that way, you essentially are becoming a software company. So the question I always like to ask is, how much of a software company would you like to become? And if you're talking to a publisher, the typical answer, of course, is, well, that's not really what I want to do. I want to publish great content. I want to build a great business. Well, that's where these cloud solutions are particularly interesting for you because, but I will also say you have to think a little bit different. You can't say, I have something in mind and it's this perfect system and it's going to do everything for me, because that's not how the cloud works. The cloud, in essence, gives you building blocks, individual components, individual pieces of software that you can tie together to then, roll out something that is quite similar to your vision. Drew will talk a little bit about some examples of how you can integrate software to make these things happen. Yes, incredible fast time to market, no setup fees, no sign-up costs, best of all, typically you can get going right away. It's unusual for a cloud system to require any kind of waiting time. You don't have this coordination effort that goes on with developers, where you first of all have to figure out what's going on. You simply evaluate solutions, figure out whether they're going to work for you, either test them on a trial basis or actually commit to using them for a month. And then if they don't, well, then you cancel. That's the only commitment you're really making. Yeah, that's hence the last point. So this right here is, I think, the reason why most people are confused about the cloud. The cloud really is three different types of cloud. Infrastructure, platforms, and applications. So when you see infrastructure, I want you to think of servers, hardware, hard drives, processing power. You have, let's say, a report that you want to run once a month and it takes forever to run. So the infrastructure layer of the cloud basically means that you no longer have to buy hardware. From our own experience, we were in the process of rolling out a service several years ago, and we did an evaluation of various cloud infrastructure services. And the alternative was basically pay $40,000 right away to buy the first batch of servers, or pay 10 cents a minute to get that similar processing power. I mean, just the phenomenal thing that's going on here is that just like you may not want to be software companies, companies like us are choosing not to be hardware companies. Everything is basically just something that we want to use right now. If we have a lot of traffic, if we have a lot of new clients signing on, we need that now, and we don't want to have to think about how that actually happens. We just need this processing power and this storage capacity. And so that's what's referred to as the infrastructure as a cloud service. Examples of that would be Amazon. Amazon is a very interesting company, as you all know, not just because of the Kindle and the Fire, but because they're taking every part of their business and they're essentially turning it into a cloud service. You can, for example, in the United States, use Amazon's storage facilities now and their distribution centers as cloud services, where you just send them stuff and then they do all the delivery and the fulfillment for you. And so they've done the same thing with hardware, server, storage, and those have kind of cryptic names like Amazon EC2, Amazon S3. Then there's platforms, which I'm really not going to cover. These typically are tools used by developers to build services that they then roll out to you. And so what we're going to talk about instead are cloud applications. And my quick definition of that for you is these are internet-based tools we would use online for business, personal productivity, and pleasure. So a lot of people may not realize this, But an example of a cloud service, of course, are services like Facebook. So this is an example of a consumer service. Many of us have Facebook accounts. In fact, by a show of hands, do you have a Facebook account? Okay, so most of you do. That's an example of a cloud service. In this case, you're not paying any money to use that. Facebook is making money off you in other ways, you know, that's a classic example of cloud service. I didn't install it on my machine. I'm not running it. I'm not paying anybody any money to do that for me. It's just there. And of course, a similar social media example would be LinkedIn. But what I want to show you today are about 4 applications that are interesting for any business, I think. And then 4 examples of solutions that you can find here on this trade show floor. So companies that you can talk to that are specific to the publishing industry. But just to kind of get your juices flowing, you know, when I made these selections, it was quite frankly difficult because there are literally now, every day there's new services coming online by some very, very talented people all over the world. So first one we'll take a look at is something called Harvest. In business, there's this saying, you can't manage what you can't measure. And Harvest is a good tool to kind of put that into place. So it really doesn't matter whether you're actually tracking times and materials from the perspective of that you're a services business and you want to bill a client for that, or you just kind of want to get a better overview of where is everybody spending their time, what are they working on, and so that you can start to, for example, analyze what elements might you want to, you know, take a look at. What's taking too much time? Where are there areas to improve? And so Harvest is a great example because take a look at this price. It's $12 to $90 a month, and really the difference kind of comes in with how many users you want to have and what kind of reports you want to have. But they even have a free plan. So if you're just kind of getting started and you want to use this for your own productivity purposes, you'll qualify for the free plan and can just kind of get jump started with that. And they have a mobile application for that, so you could be actually on the road. It could be that, you know, you're just talking with someone on the cell phone. You can start the process, record the time that you're spending. By show, I'm curious about this. How many here have heard of Basecamp before or using Basecamp? Okay, so quite a few. So this is a popular productivity tool for groups to kind of coordinate what's going on. I won't really go into too much detail on this, but again, pricing plans $49 to $149 typically. And I can tell you, all I can tell you is a couple of years ago, before the cloud, to have this kind of sophistication, these kinds of systems available to you, that's really where these companies would, like, let's say you're a really large agency, this is where you would have invested time to buy systems, install systems, or have them built for you. So tremendous differences in terms of cost now. And then here's BlinkSale. This actually ties into Harvest. So let's say you are a business that's not just tracking time for productivity purposes, but you want to be able to bill for that time. So these two cloud systems work together very well. So you can start with that process of having all your different employees track the time, and then when you're ready to go to bill for that, you've got this nice, beautiful online system that is essentially $15 a month. One thing I'll point out is if you've been running a business for a few years, you're trained, your innate instinct is to avoid at all costs, costs that are reoccurring. You'd rather buy for something, you'd rather have it already paid for, so if you're going through some trouble, you can basically not have these reoccurring costs start to reduce your cash flow. But with these kinds of prices, that's just out the window. I mean, there's no way you can build or run systems like that for a comparable cost. And then this is one of my favorites. Almost nobody's heard about this, and in fact, if you have ever heard of the system before, I want to see a show of hands. This is just unbelievable. It's called Kashu. It's an accounting system. It does things that, we were doing an evaluation of several different finance providers, because we were trying to make a decision about which system to go with. And the entry point on all those other systems was minimum $5,000, and then there was a per seat license of, I think, about $200. When we did an evaluation and put this system in comparison, this is $10 a month, unlimited seats, does multi-currency, incredible reports, iPad application available. It's called Kashu. It's amazing. So all I can tell you is there's many, many more applications like that out there. And we'll be covering a few of them also in the Cloud Show. In fact, as we start going to episode 3, 4, and 5, we're going to be jumping into concepts like how do I organize a project, how do I get my finances in order. So hopefully you'll find some of that programming interesting. But this is, after all, a publishing trade show, so I'd like to take a look at some very briefly at some solutions that you can find here on the trade floor. So from our own company, we have a content platform called Metro Publisher, which is used by publishers in several different countries to basically launch new brands. What we're trying to do is we're essentially trying to remove the need to hire and manage developers. One workflow for web newsletters, and it starts at $149 a month. But there's so many other great solutions that you'll find here. Drew's going to speak a little bit about Contactology. So this is an email newsletter provider. They keep you out of spam. They'll deliver powerful reporting to you, and it starts as little as $14 a month. And I mean, when you really take a look at these prices, this is almost like consumer prices, right? And that's what's so amazing about this is in the past, consumers paid very little money to, let's say, use a service, but businesses were being charged thousands of dollars a year to use comparable services. I think really cost is a huge driver for the cloud. And then also on this trade show, you'll find a CRM that's specifically designed for publishers called Magazine Manager. Then another solution you would find here is a video builder, which helps you basically take content that you'd find on channels like YouTube and helps you monetize that. Hopefully I've given you a few ideas. Are we going to do questions at the end, or do you want me to take some questions now? At the end, all right. Then I'm going to make room for Drew. If you like this, then I'm going to invite you. Whoops, sorry, just passed through. Doesn't matter. Then I'm going to ask you to go to cloudshow.tv and check out. We're going to have new shows pretty much every month and cover all kinds of different topics. It's not publishing specific. It's really designed. It's an educational show. But we are going to go over many of these types of scenarios and show you how to do this kind of stuff. So, all right.
Hey, hello, can you hear me? Okay. I'm tall, so you'll adjust it, I guess. Thanks, Mark. Mark outlined how cloud applications function and how they differ from traditional or homegrown solutions. Now I'd like to concentrate on how cloud solutions can be hooked together and integrated to save you hours of production time or the cost of building your own custom publication systems. First, Contactology is an email marketing platform, and being an email marketing platform, we can get a lot of value for our customers by integrating with content systems and with contact management systems or subscriber management systems. So communicating back and forth provides a lot of value to our customers. So I'm going to outline how we do that for publishers. Here's a bit of our publishing portfolio and some of the integrations that we've done and some of our integration partners. So 1 second here was take a step back. In creating these cloud solutions and then wanting them to hook together so that they make meaningful experiences for publishers and save time and money, we created an alliance called the Ohm Alliance, and we're committed to integrating with our partners and providing value for publishers. So I thought a good way to sort of look at the Ohm Alliance and how it works is to use a case example for the Missouri Life, which is a customer of Contactology, but also Metro Publisher and Delicio. Delicio is a service that runs daily deals for publishers and allows their subscribers to subscribe. So let's take a look at the front page of MissouriLife.com. Up at the top right, you can see that's where they're offering their print subscription sign-up. But also they have a newsletter sign-up on the right side, an e-edition, and a daily news sign-up on the bottom left, all on the same page. So in order to make the connection, there's an integration within Metro Publisher that allows you to connect Contactology to Metro Publisher. So you'll take your Contactology API, put it inside of Metro Publisher, and now you have sign-up forms inside of Metro Publisher, so you don't have to worry about how you get that customer from your website sign up into your email marketing database. And then inside of Metro Publisher, you have a unified view of what you've sent out. So you can turn to one application and see what you've sent. Additionally, and this is probably the best part of the integration, is that you can start a newsletter from within inside Metro Publisher, and you can pull the content that you're currently creating for your website and push it right into an email campaign. This will save hundreds of hours of production time. So in addition to paying a low monthly cost, now you're having cost savings on the hours, and you're having also reduction of mistakes potentially between copying and pasting content. Sorry. Now I want to just jump to the daily deal side. Delicio allows you to use as a platform for creating, publishing, and handling the e-commerce of daily deals, similar to Groupon, but one that you would run for your publication. Inside of Delicio, you can set up some of the details for the length of the deal, and you can add images. And then just like Metro Publisher, by entering an API key into Delicio, you can now access many of Contactology's features in the same platform that you're creating your deals. And once the deal is ready, it's pushed live to a URL and includes a pop-up subscription form, and the subscribers can choose a location, and emails are populated immediately into the proper segment inside Contactology. You can completely set up your Contactology email campaign inside Delicio. So the idea is here, again, to sort of go back to the theme, is integrating these cloud computing services, and having each of them being best at what they do, but then you hook them together to create a workflow, then you have the best of all worlds. And that's what the Ohm Alliance is about. Now, inside of Contactology, we help the customer. We have our own expertise area. We help them manage their subscription. We deliver the email. We tell them how many people opened, how many people clicked. We give them a view of what they were sent. We give them heat maps to let them know what their most clicked emails are. That's where we provide our expertise and our reporting. Does that make sense? Here's a picture of the heat maps I was mentioning. This is a picture of our Google Analytics integration, where we can actually tell how much money was made from a particular email that was sent out, or how long people stayed at a particular page. And so that's the sort of presentation on how you hook the software as a service, the cloud applications together. And now I just sort of wanted to indulge on the theme of the topic we were here to discuss, was how would cloud change publishing? Some thoughts that way from me. As creators are freed from time and location, your content creators will create from anywhere with an internet connection, with mobile devices, around the clock, and through a system, not a person. And as people pull content from more sources, you'll need to think about publishing to the web, to Twitter, to Facebook, through email, to e-readers, e-magazines, Flipboard channels, podcasts. Think about where your readers live and how you're going to reach them in their particular spaces, and what applications that you can use, that you can bring together to reach them at those particular spots. Advertisers increasingly demand pay for performance as opposed to a cost per view, a cost per lead, and a future of cost of value of a lead. And so how will cloud change publishing? This is some thoughts that way, which is we'll have advertisers who are paying on a value per lead, paying more and paying more for value, creators who are creating from different places into a cloud-based system and reporting from different devices. Management will have fewer people and more technologies, helping everyone to use the system, and readers will be reading from everywhere and demanding integrated content across platforms. So just some ideas there. My name is Drew Adams, and that's how you can reach me.
Hi, I'm Peter Watkinson from KHL Group, publishers. You've mentioned the many benefits. What are the disadvantages to going to the cloud?
Good English question. Mark.
Yeah. Well, clearly integration is still an issue. I mean, there's a lot of work to be done to basically enable you to have better data portability, so that, let's say you start with a service and then you want to, for any reason, discontinue using that service. That can be an issue. I mean, security, I have to say a lot of people are concerned about putting their data into the cloud, and my answer to that always is, well, generally speaking, the companies that are running these cloud services have more expertise and more money to keep your data secure than you do. And so I think that security is less an issue. But clearly, like any business relationship you're going to enter, you want to be aware of that. So I think that integration, the kinds of things that we're now trying to tackle kind of within the industry are key. Because, you know, as I mentioned before, you have kind of this idea of something that you want to do. And it's, let's say, the perfect solution, and it's going to help solve all your problems. Well, when you're dealing with cloud solutions, you're trying to get as close to that as you can, but you're really stringing together all kinds of different components. Because you want that cost savings. You want those best-of-breed solutions. You want to be able to stick to what is your core business. So integration, I think, is truly one of the biggest challenges.
I'll echo that and just say that's part of the reason that we wanted to do the Ohm Alliance, is because we saw this need to integrate these different services to create value for publishers. You do have the disadvantage of the fact that your data is stored elsewhere, so it's important to choose a cloud service provider that has a an eye towards security and redundancy and scalability. But if you have those sort of check boxes done, I think, and the integration makes sense for your business, then cloud computing is a good way to go.
Thank you both. Somebody else with an arm to wave? Here's one right at the front.
Michael Fury from Gemstone Technologies. We do digital publishing, iPad and all that. We've been using cloud for about 2.5 years at this point, from EC2 right up to FreshBooks and all these types of services. They are fantastic. For a small company like us, it would be impossible to get those level of services if they weren't available on the cloud for the reasons you outlined. But one thing that does strike me about cloud services, you need more technical knowledge to use them than maybe you would have had traditionally. So for example, if you take an EC2 instance that you need to manage and run, if you want to integrate various services, you talk about API keys, that's fine for somebody with technical knowledge. Somebody maybe a designer or publisher, maybe not so much, and that could be a problem, Yeah. So that's the one disadvantage I find with the cloud, is that you do need a bit of technical knowledge to run it efficiently.
Well, let me just answer that. So Amazon EC2 is an example, and that's why I said it's so important, and I think that's where so much of the confusion right now comes from, is the cloud essentially means different things to different people. So if, for example, you start to Google the cloud, chances are you're going to find lots and lots of white papers and essentially content or documents written for nerds. I mean, it's just a fact. And so that's one of the reasons why I wanted to be part of a project where we're creating something that's designed for people who are not technologists, who just really care about the benefits and want to learn how to do that. Regarding the API key stuff, I mean, for example, if you're running Metro Publisher, we have videos for just about all this kind of stuff. So really, when it comes down to it, it's true an API key is by its very nature, it looks confusing because it's a series of numbers and letters. But if you just understand that you just go over here, copy, paste that over here into this form, you hit save changes, and you're done, and all of a sudden now these systems are talking to each other. That I don't think really requires like a rocket science engineering degree, but you're right. I think there's a fundamental need to become, for all technology companies, better communicators and invest more in those kinds of resources to make it accessible to anyone. Because otherwise we're halfway to the journey of not having to become nerds, essentially.
One of the key features, I think, of being a cloud service is it being integratable. and API keys are and distributable among multiple devices. So in order to get your content from here to there, you have to make that link, and that link is about the API key. And so some of the programming speak in the vernacular has sort of seeped into the popular usage, but hopefully, in practice, us as cloud computing companies can make the process simple enough to where getting these keys and linking the systems together is as simple as, I mean, when USB devices were kind of like, that was, what was a USB and what was the little, thing you'd stick into it to keep your data. So it'd be just that simple of hooking them up. But yeah, on that layer, on the Amazon layer, you're getting to the infrastructure layer that Mark was talking about, and it can get fairly technical there. But is it less technical than like ordering the specs on your hardware? Trying to order something from Dell computers way back 4 or 5 years ago, it's pretty complicated, all the different options. So anyway, it's my 2 cents.
Before we go to the next one, I wonder whether I can just have a quick show of hands. I'd like to know in the audience, who amongst you are interested enough to reckon to be putting this new whole technological phenomenon into your business, and how many of you are just sitting here because you're interested and this is like the next big thing? So hands up who is actually determined and getting ready to use the cloud more and more in their business. So the rest of you are just kind of sitting here interested, but that's still a good significant proportion, isn't it? It's like 30%. Okay, we've got time for a couple more. Somebody with an arm. There's a lady. Are you waving at your mate, lady, madam? Okay. Anybody else? There must be a billion zillion questions out there. I've got one which may just reveal my complete ignorance of the whole idea, Mark and Drew, is how come you can get things for $14 a month? Why are we paying so little, and why are we paying monthly instead of big investment stuff? I mean, you explained that's how it's happening, but why is it so? I know you Americans don't like the word cheap, but why is it cheap?
The reason is, so from our perspective, when we launch a new feature or a new set of code, we launch it in one place, more or less, and then it's distributed to all of our customers. So the fact that the distribution channel is very limited is one reason. You don't have to put the software on a disk and then get it to the person. It's there. The other reason is the fact that it's internet-based means that the potential number of customers is so large that it makes the $14, while not significant on one person. I mean, it's money, but when you open it up to the amount and the number of people on the internet, the number of countries, the number of businesses, all the different types, it makes sense.
Right. But there's also this kind of pay by the month model, as opposed to. So does this mean that you automatically benefit from continuous update, that whole thing?
Exactly. I mean,
how it works?
basically, I mean, if you want to think about it in economical sense, there's less friction. As things are being distributed. I mean, when you're running a cloud application, first of all, everybody's running the same version. In the past, somebody takes something like operating system. Somebody might have been running Windows 95, another one Windows Vista, and I mean, a company like Microsoft has to support all these different versions. It's a real challenging nightmare for the companies who are providing those services. So that's gone. Everybody's running the same version of the software. Everybody's instantly getting those same updates. Everybody is benefiting from centralized everything, including, for example, a security team at, if you're dealing with a good cloud company. And so that's the reason why you're able to pass along those costs. But I get those kinds of questions all the time, where people are saying, how can, for example, our solution, Metro Publisher, be so inexpensive? And the fact is that, well, we're able to cut out all these things that in the past have been very, very expensive for us. And we also want to deliver a solution that's affordable by anyone. And I think any cloud company you talk to would give that same answer, because it's true. You want to have, why would you want to have a solution that some people can't afford to run? I mean, that's bad business, right? One thing I might add about the key that we were talking about before, the API key, I think one of the biggest challenges for when you're talking about these technology things is, like, for example, if I say API key, that's going to be very abstract to you. And so I think that the real challenge is finding metaphors that people can relate to. So if you want to think about an API key in a way that isn't technical, imagine you're checking into a hotel and they give you one of those key cards, you know, those plastic key cards that they've just coded for you. Well, they don't throw those away. I mean, you generally hand those in again and they're coded again for another room. So the idea behind an API key is basically it's something that you share with someone that you trust. In this case, I trust Contactology. I want to be able to send my data to them so that they can send it out using their system. So it's exactly like that. And if for any reason I don't trust Contactology and I don't want them to have access to my data anymore for sending out, I just simply revoke the key. And that's really powerful. That's really cool. Because that means that, I have less commitments, I have less contracts, I have less responsibilities, you know, to be wedded to these guys forever. If for any reason I find someone who's better, or I don't like the service they're providing for me, I can literally say, thank you very much, I'm done with you, and revoke the key. So it's these kinds of metaphors that I think are the real challenge in order to be able to relate technology to people. And I think that, unfortunately, technology companies aren't very good at that. So we're working on it.
In practical terms, how is it easy to move from one cloud service to another? And what happens to your data transferring it to from one company to another?
I think that is probably, we mentioned integration as a big key challenge. I think that is, at this point, still a major one. It depends on the systems. So, for example, moving from a mail service provider is much easier than, for example, moving from one content management system to another. What really needs to happen is the industry needs to start setting standards, because clearly you need to be, it's really quite similar, actually, it's eerily similar, in my opinion, to a lot of these privacy concerns that are going on with social networks, you know, where the question becomes, you know, if I upload something to Facebook, who owns that data? Facebook will say it's my data, but can I actually, for example, move all my photos instantly into Google+? The answer to that is no. So I think that both as consumers as well as businesses, we need to demand, and businesses, in this case the cloud providers, need to become better organized to enable that. So it is possible, absolutely it's possible. If a vendor tries to lock you out of your own data, you should take them to court, because there's no reason for it. But the fact is that that's always going to, at this stage, typically involve some kind of developer working with you to basically help you convert that from one system to another. It needs to become seamless, and it's something that our company is very interested in delivering, but it's a problem right now.
Good. It really is just beginning. I really get this feeling, and I'm also interested, perhaps for, a little bit later, about the kind of cultural implications of the way that business models change and that kind of wider social stuff, which I think is also very interesting, guys. But in the meantime, you can talk to Mark and Drew at their stands, which are just along here in the middle between the theatres. Remains only for me to thank you all very much. And Mark and Drew, Cloud guys, thank you very much.
Thank you.